Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We've not had a live show for a few weeks, and we won't have one next week, but we'll be back live again the second week in April. But we have a great guest for you tonight. Dr. Philip Levesque, longtime host, is here with us in full regalia from his military years, along with Casper Leach. We'll be taking your questions and comments about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, and helping medical marijuana patients. In the wings, we have John Cornett and Jim Dawson, ready to play some music for you here. So stand by for just a moment as we bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
All right, here is John Cornett and Jim Dawson with some great music for you.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Welcome to the show.
I want to dedicate this song to all the people who have not discovered this sweet Mary Jane.
Jim Dawson. So welcome to the show, Dr. Levesque. You look good. Is that really your uniform?
This is the shirt that I was discharged from the Army 65 years ago.
And it still fits fine.
I know it doesn't. I can't tighten it up here.
Oh, your neck's gotten a little.
I'm on a uniform, sort of.
Okay.
Yeah.
And welcome, Casper.
But I apologize.
Thank you very much. Nice to be back this week.
It is good to be back. We're got a few changes in our studio, new lighting system, and obviously a little feedback through the sound system. But I think we'll get all that worked out here in just a moment. If you have a question or comment for us tonight, it is the 29th of March of 2013. You can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour. Now, you're dressed in uniform tonight for a reason, Doctor.
Yes,
you want to talk about the new bill to add post-traumatic stress
I certainly hope so.
to the medical marijuana law here in Oregon.
Well,
Casper and I are both veterans as well.
Well, I'm wearing. I don't know why you're not using your uniform and why you're not wearing yours.
I couldn't possibly fit into mine anymore. Gosh.
I didn't think.
But in commemoration of my 16 million co-combatants in World War II, my 300,000 buddies who wore this badge and got killed, the 900,000 people waiting for a disability something or other with the Veterans Administration, 300,000 veterans who are homeless, and what I would really like to do for this show for the veterans, if there's some way that PTSD veterans can either telephone in and let's shoot several bulls, or could we have people email in or fax in to the office for stories from these guys? Could we do something?
Certainly.
How would we do that?
Well, they would just give us a call at our office number. That's 503-235-4606 if you have some comment or question. Also, you can contact your state legislators and urge them to back the bill in the Oregon legislature to add post-traumatic stress to the medical marijuana bill.
Yeah.
Now, isn't it included in some of the states now?
New Mexico is the only one I know about.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
New Mexico is the only one
in
that
New
has
Mexico,
included.
50% of their marijuana patients are veterans with PTSD.
Really?
50%, the highest number of any category. Yeah.
Even more than chronic pain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I know the law in New Mexico requires that the doctor be a specialist in the specific area of treatment, so it makes it very difficult.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you want to get
with 50% of their
I'm not sure
applicants.
What condition is it a psychiatrist or someone with psychological condition, the one that would sign for PTSD?
That is a very interesting comment, because when the Vietnam guys started coming back to the VA, and they would send them to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist would say to you, well, so you've been playing cowboys and Indians over there someplace, and now you want some sort of sympathy or something, a prescription for Valium for 2 weeks and you'll be all over it. Guess what happened?
It didn't work. They got him hooked to Valium.
They popped him in the nose for the Valium, and so the VA decided we can't have men psychiatrists interview these veterans. We have to have lady psychiatrists. Some of the lady psychiatrists got beaten up too, so they decided they didn't want to use up all their lady psychiatrists, so now they have nurse practitioners.
Right.
And many of the nurse practitioners are about the same age as the veterans, and so they assume that the veterans would not slug the lady nurse practitioners. But at the same time, they give the veterans morphine-like drugs, antidepressant-type drugs, Valium-like drugs, and it causes the veterans to turn into alcoholics or suicide or some sort of crimes or another. And the Veterans Administration is literally destroying right now 2.5 million people who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. 2.5 million, and they're just they're wrecking them, absolutely. And so if there's some veterans out there on the other end of the telephone line, come in or call in or do something.
You know, we are streaming live on the internet on ustream.tv. And there's the URL. If you know anyone around the country who's interested in cannabis, you can urge them to watch this show. We have a question, though, from our online audience. It is, what are our thoughts on Oregon's House Bill 3371? Well, I've been working with a group of people to get House Bill 3371 introduced, and that is a bill just like our initiative Measure 80 in the last election that would completely legalize the sale of marijuana to adults and regulate the market. So of course we're urging all of our viewers and everybody else to contact your Oregon legislators and urge them to support House Bill 3371. There is going to be a hearing coming up in the smallest hearing room in the legislature on April 2nd. But they're not taking public testimony, but you can come in and witness that. It is, they've got 3 people lined up to testify, a law enforcement officer.
Are they going to mention anything about marijuana?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
it's all about legalizing marijuana.
Well, I know that, but we're not going to be talking about the medical aspects.
It'll be complete legalization. It's not just the medical aspects. Now, there is a House bill also for that will add PTSD, and I think that one's going very well.
Well,
I think it's already
that's really great.
coming up for a House vote.
Very
it looks
good.
like it'll pass
Very
there.
good.
This one that you're going to be talking at, does this include the industrial hemp aspect as well? Is it, completely?
It's about legalizing and taxing marijuana. You know, this is early in the legislative process. It's hard to say exactly what will come out, but we've gone in with an early draft of a bill, and we'll see what the legislature does.
Well, I keep reading on Wall Street and Fortune magazine and Money magazine that there are many companies now getting lined up and ready to start buying stock and preparing to expand their companies because of new legislation that might make it possible for them to start producing products made out of this plant. They're calling it a new billion-dollar crop.
Probably a $1 trillion crop now.
Where have I heard that? Sounds like a popular mechanic
Very
type
familiar,
of thing.
doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's now up to $20 billion a year in the U.S. at least.
Right, and we know how much our politicians love money, so it should happen soon.
Well, we'll see. The industry starting just, for complete legalization in Washington. By this time next year, they passed I-502 in the last election cycle, and so the Washington State Liquor Control Board has had a series of hearings. They just hired a group of people to consult with, one of them a UCLA professor, Mark Kleinman, Steep Hill Labs out of the Bay Area, which does analytical testing. And so...
do you know anything about them?
I know that Kleinman's written a number of books about drug control policy, and I know Steep Hill Labs is... what do you want to say about Kleinman?
Well, I don't know a thing about him, but the whole thing is that in the first place, I don't think this man has any specific education, whatever word you want to use, about medical marijuana itself, which is what we're talking about here. We're not talking about anything. We're talking about medical marijuana.
And PTSD.
And PTSD, absolutely. And I estimate that there are probably about 1 million of the veterans of recent wars who have PTSD, and at least half of them above a scale of 5, and those are the ones who are desperately in need of marijuana therapy. Those are the ones. The ones who are less than 5 can probably get by on something less than marijuana. But marijuana is the best drug we have found so far for the treatment of PTSD. And within the last month, I just wrote an article that marijuana prevents PTSD suicides. And I got about 1,000 comments on it from all over the country.
Well, I was in the military, but I didn't see combat. But I do know, as a marijuana user, that when I smoke marijuana, I don't have dreams.
Yeah.
And when I quit using marijuana after a couple of days, I start to have some very vivid dreams.
Yeah.
So obviously, the use of marijuana will help.
That is one of the worst symptoms of PTSD, and you probably wouldn't imagine what the second most important symptom is.
What's that?
not being able to talk about what was your worst experience. Tell me about your worst experience. Bam! Just like
So did you feel that way after World War II? I know you went through a lot of very traumatic experiences
Well,
in
my
fighting your way into Germany and meeting up with the Russians there.
my first day I was committed to combat. I got in an artillery barrage that just blew the hell out of this little town where I was, and the next day they hit me with a mortar barrage. And when we crossed the Rhine River, I got strafed by German planes. I got strafed by American planes. We lost 150 men in less than an hour.
Out of how many? 150
out of our battalion.
And a battalion is what, about
1,000?
About 1,000. So 150 out of 1,000. That's a pretty heavy attrition rate. 15% in an hour.
We had my battalion, my division, had the worst casualties crossing the Rhine River. For a strange reason, we had 14 battalions of artillery. How many guns is that? You're an old artillery person.
It's been a long time, Doctor. Let's see, about 6, so 14.
More than that.
There's
about 3 per platoon in there.
Yeah.
Keep on going.
So you tell me. You seem to know this number better than me.
You were in the
artillery.
It's been
a long time.
Well, we had 14 battalions of artillery on the south side of the Rhine River, and what did they shoot at the Germans? Smoke. And the wrong kind of smoke.
I see.
All right. Wow.
I understand.
And then I captured the 26 German officers.
Because I've been shotgunned.
Yeah.
That's a technique of inhaling marijuana he's talking about.
Yeah.
Through the barrel of a
bong.
I thought through the barrel of a shotgun.
No, whole different thing.
What do I know?
Well, we'll teach you after the show.
Okay.
So listen, if you're out there and you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us. That number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. If you're watching online, you can type a question into that little chat box off to the right of the screen. We do have a caller. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello?
Well, we've got sound issues too. So let's try one more time. Hello, caller. Can you hear us?
Okay.
All right. We can hear you now.
Okay, great. Hey, I hear a lot of. Can you still hear me?
Yes. Still hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to say there was Palm Valley Television. I'm getting a real bad reverb back in my phone. It's bouncing off the walls in there in my phone. But as long as you can hear me. Palm Valley Community Television did a 4-part series about 4 years called Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder and the Returning Veteran. And one of the things one of the psychologists, medical doctors, talking about is high-speed IEDs, the improvised devices, which are a lot of the old shells we left behind with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan in 1979 and 80. We were backdooring the Russians through there, you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, the shock wave on those things is 40 to 60,000 feet per second, and the new Kevlar helmets that our soldiers wear, when they're nearby one of those IEDs when it explodes, that Kevlar helmet protects their brain to a certain degree. It keeps them from dying on the scene, but it basically kind of scrambles their brain. I don't remember the exact medical interpretation of this, but it does kind of leave their brains messed up for the future. And then the other thing I was going to say, I've heard about this organization up in Washington called Coffee Strong. Instead of Live Strong, it's Coffee Strong, you know, veterans. I would recommend to all veterans out there, stay off of nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol, and get the best quality of cannabis and for PTSD. And you have to, as Paul probably knows, you have to get the right kind of cannabis, the, you know, particular medical condition that you may have. And but I just wanted you guys, I don't have a computer, but if you guys maybe have some way of archiving that up out of Twelve Valley Television, it's called Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder and the Returning Veteran. But and by the way, the regular, if you don't go to war, if you're a military veteran, even if you don't go to war, I've seen and known people over the years, over the last 40, 50 years, where they didn't go to Vietnam, they basically just most their time at the military base, and even the basic training, and you guys attest to this, the basic training is just a big mind F, you know. I mean, they just mess all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just not a good thing to do to your brain. And so I think they ought to rethink how they do military training anyway. But I definitely want to applaud Dr. Levesque for working on getting this for the veterans for PTSD. And so anyway, guys, thanks for all the good work you guys do, and care.
All right. Thanks for your question and comment there. Thanks for calling in. Have to see if we can find that past documentary.
I just reported on that article, and an article I posted on my website yesterday.
All right. And is that on Salem News, your article there? Or?
Yeah. Yeah.
So salem-news.com.
Yeah.
So you can find Dr. Levesque's blog there. And
have you noticed we had the election, last November?
Yes.
And everything started moving forward at the first of the year. And we've been told by the Justice Department that they were going to sometime soon make a statement. And it's almost 4/20. And Brother Eric, what's his name again? Holder?
Holder.
That's his name, Holder? He's
Yeah.
been so quiet, I almost forgot who he was.
Uh-huh.
We're waiting, aren't you? He's not said a word.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Maybe they're just so speechless that they should just say, here's our resignation. You no longer need us.
Well, at least the DEA.
Yeah.
They can go away.
That could.
DEA.
Just poof, poof, poof. Huh.
We have a studio audience member who's brought us a little sign about an upcoming bazaar. It's the Ganja Gals Bazaar. And so they're going to have vendors and baskets and samples for medical patients at the Potlandia dispensary at 7131 Northeast Prescott.
How bizarre.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's hosted by Ganja Gals. You can find out more about Ganja Gals at
Potlandia?
Potlandia. It's like Portlandlandia without the R. And it's ganjagals.org. That's GANJAGALS.org. They'll be helping with food banks and working with different clubs and in the community, so you can find out more about Ganja
Don't they have
Gals.
those very frequently? Once
They've
a
got,
month or
I
so?
think so. I think they can tell you. It's at high noon on Sunday, April 7th. It starts at high noon and goes to 8 p.m. So it's Sunday, April 7th.
High noon, huh?
High noon. There used to be a society at, There used to be a society at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. They would get high next to their clock every Friday afternoon at noon, and they called it the High Noon Society.
Cool.
So these people have conveniently written high noon on there, so that's why I went
Well,
ahead.
I've hung out with your
got that
crowd of
nifty.
friends, and you got high 9 o'clock, high 10 o'clock.
I know how
noon.
you are, Casper. If you're out there and you have any questions for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We have a film clip that we are going to be running here in just a moment. This is a interview that was actually recorded by the Oregonian with our Dr. Thomas Orvald. And it's about 3.5 minutes. Is that film clip ready to roll? Then let's go ahead and roll it. We'll be back in just a
time
second.
to smoke one.
Have so many enormous clinic days. I mean, every day you look in my book here, these are all patients that I have seen on those days. 41, 48, 47. The principal problem that we confront in this clinic is chronic pain. It's basically a pain clinic. Well, take a seat there, young lady. Now, Tony, you're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome, which is a weird disease. How does a cardiac surgeon end up getting involved with cannabis? And that is not an easy question to answer. I'm losing my vision. And when you're a heart surgeon, the worst thing that can happen to you is to lose your vision. So that's really one of the things that encouraged me to go into this thing.
I smoke, or I vaporize a little bit in the morning before I go to work. Sometimes if I've had a hard day and I've sat in a chair too long, and I will use it in the smoking area at work. And then of course at night.
Yes.
But I don't smoke all day long.
Now, there are doctors who know one hell of a lot more about cannabis than I do. You know, there are a lot of people working in this clinic that know more about which strains are acceptable for what things. They know more about that than I do. But I know that when somebody is a candidate for the use of cannabis, I know that when they are and when they are not.
Well, for the IBS, they gave me 4 different kinds of antidepressants, and they made me feel like I wasn't me. So when I got off of those and I started marijuana, I felt like me, and I could move around, and you know, it still hurts. I mean, it doesn't completely dissolve the pain, but I could be an active person in society. I love Dr. Orvald. He asks you a bunch of questions, marks some stuff on the paperwork, and then signs it.
It causes mainly abdominal discomforts. And by using cannabis, and either orally or by inhaling the vapor, you can help to control that discomfort. One of the problems that we have today in medicine is excessive use of narcotics and opiates, which has escalated over the past few years, and those few years and that it has become such a severe problem are the years that I have recently spent here, because I see it every single day. I don't criticize the patients, I criticize the doctors, because the doctors are the guys who are handing out narcotics and opiates like they're candy. This is not the way medicine should be practiced. I am here to take care of patients. That's what I've done my whole life. And I will do that for as long as I can. But you see how many I do see here: 48, 38, 37, 47, 45. Mamma mia. That's enough.
So that is Dr.
Orvald.
Yeah, Thomas Orvald. You're Dr. Philip Levesque. I'll try not to get you guys confused.
Okay. Yeah, he's taller than I am.
Like you got
Taller.
a twin.
Well, it's very interesting, the conversation between the two there. First of all, that the antidepressants. The word that I got from my patients is they turn me into a zombie. And this is on the front lines in Iraq and Afghanistan too. They give them out to there.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
It's not a good place to be a zombie.
No. And he spoke about the narcotics, the opiates, and so forth. Oxycodone, hydrocodone, morphine. They hand them out like Cracker Jacks at the VA, and anybody else who's taking care of these guys.
That's a Hollywood party.
And they get them addicted in about a
absolutely.
week. In less than a week,
yeah.
you can get completely hooked to those things.
That's true. And that never happens with, well, I won't say it never happens with marijuana, because some people get stuck with it, and
Yeah.
I've read that that's supposed to be about
Yeah,
10,
Casper.
about 10% of the population.
It was laid upon my table by Jack Hare that it's not physically addictive, but marijuana can be psychologically addictive. But there's no physical addiction.
What that means is you enjoy it? Does that
Yes.
mean you enjoy it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And when you're not smoking it, you're just not as happy, which absolutely is true.
Well, in the early pharmacology textbook, it's called a euphoriant, what means it makes you feel happy.
God forbid.
Like a,
People should feel happy.
And then
like a Hershey bar or a Payday.
an anandamide, which is the
Endogenous cannabinoid,
endogenous
analogous to
cannabinoid.
THC.
is ananda means bliss.
Bliss in Sanskrit.
So bliss is about the same as euphoria, as far as
I think you're right.
Follow your bliss. That sounds familiar.
follow your bliss.
Follow your bliss.
That's a
Never heard
career
that.
recommendation from
Moyers.
Moyers. Definitely covered that in his books, but it was first Joseph Campbell.
There you go.
Who,
Follow your bliss. And every
advocated
time I heard
toward
that, I thought to myself, Joseph Campbell must have fired up.
Moyers,
a
of
lot.
course, did a big
Yeah.
series with Joseph Campbell as well. We have a studio audience member who has a comment here. So we'll be taking a question from our studio audience member. Go right ahead, sir.
Hi there. I just recently took a vacation to the beautiful state of Hawaii. And I grow my own medicine here in the wonderful state of Oregon, and it's specific medicine that treats my movement disorder. I had to go to Hawaii, and I called the various resources, even called the Bureau of Narcotics Enforcement and said, hey, I got a license. Where do I find stuff here?
No, you got to have a Hawaii license in Hawaii to be a legal patient in Hawaii, as I'm sure you found out.
Yes, that I did. So I wanted to find out what are the considerations for an Oregonian traveling to Hawaii or another legal state, and how do they go about getting certified in that state if they're spending a great deal of the year there?
In Hawaii, you have to have a mailing address and either a Hawaii driver's license, a Hawaii identification card, or a U.S. passport. So as long as you have one of those three types of identification, then a doctor and a residence address that you can receive mail at and claim as your grow site in the state of Hawaii, then you can get a permit. Hawaii is the only state that has the state narcotics enforcement police who issue the medical marijuana permit. In fact, we've been THCF Medical Clinics has been working in Hawaii since 2005, and I have a Hawaii medical marijuana permit, and we help Willie Nelson and Willie Nelson's wife and family and road crew get permits in Hawaii. So if you need a permit in Hawaii, well, gee, you're in the right place. But I think we're next seeing patients in Hawaii in early May. So you can schedule that by calling our clinics at 503, this is the best number, 235-4606 here in the Portland area. If you're outside of the Portland area, you can call us toll free at 1-800-723-0188. But basically, Hawaii's law was patterned on Oregon's medical marijuana law. Hawaii's was the first law that was passed by the state legislature authorizing medical marijuana patients and caregivers. And the law is rather restrictive. Here in Oregon, you know, we can print our Oregon applications online and have the paperwork, but in Hawaii, they require that the doctors keep control of the application. They don't allow patients to have a copy of it, and the doctor has to submit the application to the state narcotics enforcement division.
Just as a note, the unofficial advice of the Bureau of Narcotics Enforcement was that I should pursue it on the black market.
Funny.
Did you ask for an address?
They probably could have helped you with that. And I have a Hawaii license here in my wallet, but I won't pull it out and bore you with that.
You know, well, when I tell my friends and family that my caregiver is the same caregiver as Willie Nelson's, for some reason, no one seems surprised.
Yeah. Well, you interviewed, you know, we have your videos with your interviews with Willie Nelson on our internet website.
And my eyes were pretty red, too, when I usually tell them. So I'm like, yeah.
Well, way back when. Well, you know, there are several states that have reciprocity where they do recognize Oregon's medical marijuana permit or other state medical marijuana permits. Those states are Maine, Michigan, Arizona, Rhode Island, and quite ironically, the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. Montana used to recognize other states' medical marijuana permits, but the Montana legislature curtailed that back about 2 years ago. So now those 4 states, Maine, Michigan, Rhode Island, Arizona, and the District of Columbia, do have reciprocity for medical marijuana, meaning that if you have a permit from another state, you're legal in those states too. But outside of that, you have to have a permit in that state. And Oregon is the only state that allows medical marijuana patients who don't live in the state to get a permit in the state.
So let me get this straight. In Washington, D.C., where the Justice Department's at and the DEA's at, where they organize all the raids on marijuana gardens and marijuana smokers across the United States, in that little tiny area, if you have your medical marijuana card, you can just fly right in there and buy a bag?
Well, I'm not sure how the dispensaries there work, but
Cool.
it'll be legal for you to have up to an ounce in Washington, D.C. I haven't really...
Talk about your bipolar burp, which reminds me, what's going on in Michigan? Aren't they having bipolar burps there too?
Well, they've been back and forth. None of them are as bad as Montana, where
Oh.
the legislature curtailed that. In Montana, they had wide open dispensaries all across the state, and then the federal government came in and prosecuted a lot of people, even attorneys, and gave them lengthy prison sentences.
You don't want to prosecute a lawyer when they get
Well,
out
they
of jail.
did.
They'll come get you. They're just
They
like
did.
crocodiles
And they do that.
and snakes.
You know, we've had Dale Schaefer and his wife, physician Molly Fry, MD, on our show about 2 years ago almost, and they've been in federal prison since May of 2011 in a 5-year mandatory minimum sentence. They had 35 plants growing. The police came in and took pictures of their plants over a 3-year period of time, added them all together so it equaled more than 100 plants, and then prosecuted them under the medical marijuana law. Actually, they came in about 2 weeks after 9/11, after the terrorist attack back in September of 2001, and they didn't have to go to prison until 2011. They went through that whole process for 10 years before they actually had to turn themselves in. In fact, their youngest son was 8 years old when they first arrested them, and he was 18 years old when they finally had to go to prison. But anyway, so if you want
At
to
least they
find
were
out
able
more,
to raise their kids before they had to go away.
yeah, they're in federal custody now, and that was a doctor and a lawyer simply who had helped a number of medical marijuana patients. So it's a
If
sad,
I
sad
understand
tale.
correctly, when they voted for marijuana in District of Columbia, it was a 65% vote.
That's right. Now, California passed the first medical marijuana law through the initiative process in 1996.
Yeah.
Then in 1998, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, and the District of Columbia all passed it. Now, Oregon and Washington's went into effect in 1999, but Arizona, their legislature overturned it. In fact, they passed it again in 2000, and the legislature in Arizona overturned it. Finally, they passed it in 2010, and now it's going into effect in Arizona here, 14 years later. But the District of Columbia passed it in 1998, but the United States Congress passed a budget bill and said they couldn't count those votes. So they held the votes from 1998 until 2009, and with the Democratic-controlled legislature under newly elected President Obama, they finally counted the votes from 1998 in 2009, 11 years later. Then the medical marijuana law went into effect in 2010 and 2011. They're just now starting to open dispensaries from that vote 14 years later.
Boy, they're desperate to hang on to their paychecks, aren't they?
Some of them certainly are.
By golly.
Listen, if you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. If you're out there and you are a patient or you know someone who needs a medical marijuana permit, then we have clinics all over the country. We would be happy to help you get a medical marijuana permit as long as you have one of these conditions that's bound to pop on your screen here any moment now. There they are. Well, no, not yet, but any moment now. And so you can call us at that number, though. It's toll-free, 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188.
It's also good for deja vu.
Deja vu?
Deja vu. That's when you're listening to a politician and you've heard this bull before.
Ah, well, there's all the conditions. Of course, chronic pain and nausea being the largest, but AIDS and cancer, glaucoma, IBS, seizures, spastic disorders, asthma, gastrointestinal ailments, hepatitis C, all of those, and cancer will qualify you for medical marijuana.
You can look me up for most of those conditions on marijuana Levesque on Google, and they just jump out at you.
I know.
About
You
200
got
stories.
tons of media there, especially when you first started
Now,
doing it.
you
years
said
ago.
it helps hepatitis C. Isn't that a blood disease? What does it do?
Hepatitis
It's
C is a
painful,
viral
very
disease that
painful.
attacks your liver and kills your liver, and cannabis helps with those symptoms.
Well,
the
that
pain,
sounds like
the
it'd be
nausea,
painful.
the
Yeah,
appetite.
okay. Yeah.
All of those are helped by the use of cannabis. Hepatitis C causes pain, it causes loss of appetite, cannabis helps with that. Of course, for some of us, the appetite stimulant properties of cannabis are an adverse condition.
Oh, my God. I love those brownies.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
You do. So,
We haven't had any veterans calling in here. What's going on, vets?
you know, I don't know.
They're
I don't know.
depressed.
We've been,
Right?
maybe it's like you said. You were watching the other day and you said the last half of the show, the sound wasn't going out.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you can listen to this show and get most of the information by listening without the picture.
Maybe
But
I
it
should
doesn't
start
do
doing this.
any good to watch it without the sound. It just doesn't, you know, the most of the information is in the sound portion. And unfortunately, a lot of times we found that for some strange reason, the sound on our video doesn't go out at times. And it's not because of technical problems in our studio. It seems to be,
The sound
I mean,
guy's
I don't
side?
want to seem paranoid. No, it's sabotage of one degree or another. Where
okay.
as long as they can cut that out, then who's going to watch it, right? But we persevere. And if you have a question for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442. We'll be happy to take your calls.
If these people here and out in the air don't know that they can view any of these shows on the computer.
That's right.
Any
That's
of them.
right.
Tell them how to do it. Go ahead.
You can go to ustream.tv or you can go to YouTube and just Google or search for Cannabis Common Sense, the name of our show. And we do have a caller. Let's see if a veteran's called in to ask you this question. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Dr. Levac.
He's here.
Dr. Levac.
Hello.
This is Janine.
It's Gene.
Janine.
Janine.
Gene.
Oh, okay. Haven't heard from you for 2 years.
I know. How you doing? It's good to see you.
Well, 6 months ago, I broke my leg, my hip, and so I've been hobbling around here for 6 months, and I'm going to get the screws taken out of my leg next Wednesday.
Well, I hope you're using some medicinal cannabis to help you.
No
But
comment.
you guys, I just heard you talking about being able to get cannabis, medicinal cannabis at some of the other states. I went up to Canada to their Compassion Club and
In
showed them my
Vancouver,
card.
British Columbia? The Compassion
Yeah,
Club in
up
Vancouver?
in Vancouver, yeah, Canada.
Right.
And they called Dr. Levac to verify that he signed the card. And he did. He verified it. They got a hold of it. And I had a great time while I was up there.
All right. Well, good.
So I just have a comment to make. It's a quote from Thomas Jefferson. If we let the government tell us what foods to eat or what medicines to take, our souls will be in a sorry state as those that live under tyranny. I think we're there.
I think you're right.
Anyway, you guys have a good night, and I'm going back to listening to you.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks.
Well, when I went up to Toronto, Canada, I did not have my medical marijuana card, and I still had a good time.
But you didn't go to a dispensary.
No, I went to the Treating Yourself Expo, and I was one of the judges, and I got to sample all kinds of amazing buds.
You know, we have a question from our online viewers out there in Cyberland, and that question is, if farmers are allowed to cultivate hemp, how much can they earn per acre? Well, you know, that's a speculative question. Up in Canada, I think they're profiting $1,500 per acre, which is a lot for an agricultural crop. So it's hard to say exactly. You know, you can get from the same acre of land, you can get 30 plus tons of fiber for canvas, rope, lace, linen, building material, and paper.
And if you're
and
growing
you
for
can
seed,
get anywhere from 600 to 8,000 pounds of seed per acre. If you're growing the low THC hemp, which has very few flowers, hence low THC, you can get about 600 pounds of seed. If you're growing feral or wild hemp here in the United States, you can get over 8,000 pounds of seed per acre. If you press 8,000 pounds of seed, you'll get 300 gallons of hemp seed oil, which you can pour into any diesel engine and turn the key and drive, it is biodiesel fuel without any refining. And you will have left over from that 8,000 pounds, after you've taken the 300 gallons of oil, over 6,000 pounds of high-protein hemp seed meal. So
And
that's
there'll
all
be-
from the same acre.
I guess the best answer would be there'll be enough per acre to make the wealth transfer from the 1% back into the hands of the 99%.
That's right. We can turn around the whole centralization of our economy. It really is an issue of social and economic justice. We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello.
Hello, caller.
Hello?
Howdy.
Hey, real quickly, that Marijuana Policy Institute banner that, well, it's actually a billboard, I guess, that they had in down.
Yes.
Hello? I thought I was on the air.
Uh-oh. Sounds
that-
like we jumped between
is
two
that
phone
Truman
calls
Capote?
there. Someone was talking about the banner that the Marijuana Policy Project put up, but now you're on the air.
Hello.
You said you thought...
Oh, okay. So are you talking to me now?
Yes.
Yes, I guess so.
Oh, okay. What I wanted to ask is, I have an Oregon medical marijuana card, and I also have one in California. So if I want to go visit my family and I want to fly, and the problem being with the federal laws, how do we deal with the
You just carry the
TSA
marijuana
as far as getting
on
it
board.
through?
You carry the
Um,
marijuana through security. You can leave it in your bags that go through security. Just be sure you have your permit with you. You can even put it out and let them inspect it in a bin. And as long as you have your medical marijuana permit, here in Oregon, they'll allow you to fly with up to 1.5 pounds of medical marijuana. And so I always carry marijuana when I fly, and I just flew this last week. And at one time, I had a local Portland TSA agent tell me that I have my volcano vaporizer I travel with. He said that his dad had a volcano vaporizer, and it worked really well, and they loved it. So.
And how cool to be behind you in a line at an airport watching TSA go through 1.5 pounds a pot. Yeah.
Well, you know, usually I just leave it in my bag. I don't take it out, and I've never had an issue. Only twice.
Check-in bag then.
No, you should carry it through security. Carry it through security.
And then do you have to make sure you have both states' cards on you, the one you're traveling from
you
and
should.
the one you're
You should,
traveling
and then you're
to?
completely careful. Of course, when you land, they don't search you. So they only search you when you take off.
Right.
So I cannot vouch for the airport that you're flying out of when you come back from California. So I would recommend just taking enough that you're going to use when you're there and not flying back with
And
it.
take your smart...
Oh, well, that's really good to know that you can fly with it, and
Yeah.
I appreciate all your information and all the work that you guys do. I'm behind you 100%, so
Thank you.
let's regulate hemp.
Yep.
And
Thank
when
you,
you
man.
go through there, through the line with your marijuana, also take your smartphone with you with the camera so you can get the photograph of the TSA's agent.
No, you don't want to do that.
face
Don't listen to him.
when they read that.
He thinks
like, oh,
he's
do your
funny.
fine.
He thinks he's funny. I really do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
All right. So we have a film clip we're going to run here. We're down to about 10 minutes left. Let's run this film clip, which is a little tribute to a mentor of all three of ours, Mr. Jack Herrera. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Great.
It's coming any minute now.
This is Mr. Henry Ford in 1941 with Popular Mechanics magazine showing off his car made from hemp.
Well, come climb the mountain with me. Come see what we can see. Come climb the mountain with me, and then we will all be free. Some men are born to lead, some men have destiny. Some men plant the seed, and some men set it free.
had 92,000 cars a day, thousands of people parking behind the FBI building, and they arrested us and they said, you cannot do this. I said, well, I'm not going to pay you a fine and go on probation. So I did 15 days in prison rather than give them a $5 fine.
Wow,
You know, we had
that's
to-
kind of like telling Jesus you can't practice on Sunday.
It was a fine line.
So come climb the mountain with me. Come see what we can see. Come climb the mountain with me, and then we will all be free.
Jack here and Ed Adair.
Well, hi, guys.
They must be on the hemp tour. Are you on the hemp tour?
One man said we must
We've got
hear. One man's voice was clear. One man heard the call. His vision speaks for all.
The #1 plant for paper, fiber, and fuel from the natural cycle had been outlawed. That somehow the synthetic cycle had won, when the #1 thing in the natural cycle could outproduce it and completely clean up the atmosphere. So my partner, Captain Ed, who had become my partner in 1973 and doing the politics of this, said we have to teach everybody in the world. So we went around and told everybody. Yeah. But it was a slow process.
So come open your eyes with me and come see what you can see. It's time for the world to know the emperor wears no clothes. Come open your eyes with me. It's time for you to see. It's time for the world to know the emperor wears no clothes. It's time for the world to know the emperor wears no clothes. The emperor wears no clothes. The emperor wears no clothes. The emperor wears no clothes.
So that is a tribute to Jack Hare, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, sung by Tim Pate, past co-host here on this show. Our greetings go out. That's a very nicely, and you might not recognize it, but that guy who was sitting there with Jack is none other than this gentleman here, Mr. Casper Leach, only, what, about 22, 24 years ago, something like that?
And I had that long, funny hair.
You had hair.
I had hair.
Right.
You remember that, don't you? Hair.
Well, with the name Dr. Phil, as soon as I lose all of my hair, I start making a lot of money.
Yeah,
Right.
it's coming. It's coming.
Well, I guess for you it was just a Broadway play.
We have another phone call. We'll go ahead and take that call. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello.
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 All right. Well, we tried.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, there you
I'm
are.
here.
Yep.
Good. We can hear you now.
Yeah, hello.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, thank you very much. My comment was that at 1 acre of hemp fiber is the same amount of a 300-year-old growth of timber on 1 acre of property.
Okay. Yeah, according to the United States Department of Agriculture, Bulletin 404, a waste product from growing hemp for bast fiber, its outer bark. That waste product, the inner hurd, hemp herds make more than 4 times more paper than the most productive tree species. So that was from the United States Department of Agriculture, Bulletin 404, which came out way back in 1916.
Yeah, and plus, like you say, the oil alone, I heard a test that they use 25 gallons of diesel and 75 gallons, which made 100 gallons of diesel. They put it into a truck and drove it, and the emissions were almost zero.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a carbon negative fuel to use hemp for fuel. Plus, the byproduct is food and fiber. So it really can solve a lot of ecological and economic problems. But thanks for your comments.
You have a good day.
You have a
You
good
too.
evening, too. Well, we're down to about 3 minutes left to go here. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing,
Well,
Casper?
I am really
Let him
surprised
say it
that we
first.
haven't had any veterans call in. So any of our audience who knows PTSD veterans, phone us up at our phone number and maybe email or fax or.
Yeah, you can call us at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606.
And we might even invite them onto this program.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
All right. And Casper, you want to give a plug for your radio show?
It's a little radio show heard every Monday through Friday on AmericanFreedomRadio.com from 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, if you go to iTunes, type into the iTunes search engine, Time for Hemp. All 4 of our podcasts download for free. Go to timeforhemp.com, hit the donate button, and find all kinds of great videos to share with your friends. And remember, the next time you hear me, it's time for hemp.
All right, and then we first want to remind you that if you are a loved one or looking for a doctor who can help you get a medical marijuana permit, we have them all over the United States, from Hawaii to the East Coast, and based here in Portland, Oregon. You can call us locally at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. If you're outside of the Portland area, you can call us toll free at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. I want to thank you folks for watching. Thank you, Dr. Levesque. Thank you, Casper. We want you to tune in next week. We won't have a live show next week, but we will the following week and all those weekends afterwards. Now we're going to go out with John Cornette and Bill Dawson with another fantastic tune for you. Thanks for watching, and help us restore hemp. Jim Dawson. Sorry.